I was talking to a friend the other day, let's call her Margaret, and she told me something that broke my heart a little. She said, "I'm 68. Who's going to want me now?" And I just looked at her and said, "Margaret, who told you that nonsense?" Because here's the thing, somewhere along the way, we've all been fed this idea that love, romance, and dating have an expiration date. Like once you hit 60, you're supposed to hang up your dancing shoes, resign yourself to bingo nights alone, and forget about ever feeling that flutter in your chest again. Well, I'm here to tell you, that's bullshit. Dating after 60 isn't just possible, it can be better than ever. You've got wisdom, confidence, and zero time for games. So why are so many of us still stuck following these imaginary rules about how we're supposed to act, what we're supposed to want, or who we're supposed to be? Today, we're throwing those rules out the window because love isn't just for the young. It's for anyone with a heartbeat and the courage to go after it. So let's talk about why the so-called rules of dating after 60 don't apply to you and what you should be focusing on instead. First, let's tackle the biggest myth of all. At your age, you should just be happy alone. Now, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with being single if that's what you truly want. But if you're sitting there thinking, "I'd love to share my life with someone, but it's too late," then I need you to hear this. It's never too late. I've seen people find love in their 70s, 80s, even 90s. And you know what they all had in common? They refused to believe that their story was already written. They showed up. They took chances. And most importantly, they didn't let some arbitrary number dictate their happiness. So if you've been telling yourself, "No one's interested in someone my age," stop right there. The truth is, there are plenty of people out there who would be lucky to know you, exactly as you are, wrinkles, wisdom, and all. The only thing standing in your way is the belief that you're not worthy of it. And that's a lie. Now let's talk about another rule that needs to go. You have to act a certain way to be attractive. You know what I'm talking about. Those outdated ideas like "don't seem too eager," or "play hard to get," or "men only want women who," fill in the blank with some nonsense. Here's the reality. You're not 25 anymore, and thank goodness for that. You don't have to play games or pretend to be someone you're not. In fact, the best thing you can bring to dating at this stage of life is yourself, fully, unapologetically. Think about it. You've spent decades learning who you are, what you like, and what you won't tolerate. That's powerful. So why would you dim that light now? The right person isn't going to be drawn to some watered-down version of you. They're going to love you for your stories, your laughter, your quirks, even the stubborn ones. So forget about rules that tell you to hide your personality or downplay your interests. If you love gardening, talk about it passionately. If you've got a killer sense of humor, let it shine. The people who matter will appreciate you for it. And the ones who don't, well, they weren't your match anyway. And finally, let's bust one more myth before we move on. Dating is only for people who want marriage. Maybe you're not looking for a walk down the aisle, and that's perfectly fine. Maybe you want companionship, someone to travel with, or just a little romance to spice up your days. Whatever you're after, it's valid. Love doesn't have to look one specific way. I've met people who found incredible joy in casual relationships where they could enjoy each other's company without the pressure of commitment. Others discovered deep, meaningful partnerships without ever exchanging rings. The point is, you get to decide what you want, not society, not your kids, not your nosy neighbor. So if you've been holding back because you think dating has to lead to some grand traditional ending, let that go. Your love life is yours to design. Now, I know this is a lot to take in, and maybe some of it feels uncomfortable. Maybe you're thinking, "But what about?" Or, "It's not that simple." And you're right, dating at any age comes with its challenges. But here's what I want you to remember. You've already survived harder things than a bad date. So why not give yourself permission to try, to hope, to believe that love isn't just for the young. It's for anyone brave enough to reach for it. And if you're ready to keep going, we're just getting started, because there's so much more to say about how to navigate this exciting, messy, beautiful world of dating after 60, and why the best part isn't following the rules. It's rewriting them. You know what's funny? The older we get, the more we realize how much time we've wasted worrying about what other people think. And when it comes to dating, that's especially true. We've been handed this rulebook, written by who exactly, that tells us how we're supposed to meet people, how we're supposed to act, even how we're supposed to feel. Well, I've got news for you. That rulebook is outdated, and not just a little outdated like, why is this still in my house? Outdated. So let's toss it in the trash where it belongs and talk about what really matters when it comes to dating after 60. One of the biggest myths we need to debunk is this idea that you have to meet people the old-fashioned way. You know what I mean? Waiting for some charming stranger to strike up a conversation at the grocery store, or hoping your friends will set you up with their cousin's neighbor's divorced brother. Now, don't get me wrong, those things can happen. But why leave it to chance? These days, there are so many ways to connect with people, and online dating is one of them. I know, you might be thinking, oh, that's for young people, or I'm not tech savvy enough for that. But let me ask you this. If you can order groceries, video chat with your grandkids, and binge watch your favorite shows, you can handle a dating app. And here's the best part. Dating online after 60 isn't the same as it is for 20-somethings. There's less pressure, fewer games, and a lot more honesty. People our age aren't playing around. They know what they want, and they're not afraid to say it. So if you've been hesitant to try it, maybe dip a toe in the water. You might be surprised at how many wonderful people are out there, just waiting to meet someone like you. Now, let's talk about another rule that needs to go. You have to hide your past. Maybe you've been divorced. Maybe you've lost a spouse. Maybe you've spent years single and happy, and now you're curious about sharing your life with someone again. Whatever your story is, it's yours, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. In fact, your past is part of what makes you who you are today. The right person isn't going to judge you for having lived a full life. They're going to respect it. So don't feel like you have to tiptoe around your history or pretend it doesn't exist. Be open, be honest, and trust that the people who matter will appreciate your journey. And while we're at it, let's tackle another piece of bad advice. You shouldn't talk about your kids or grandkids too much. It'll scare people off. Really, since when did having a family become a bad thing? Look, if someone's put off by the fact that you love your grandkids or that you're close with your adult children, that says more about them than it does about you. Of course, you don't want every conversation to be only about your family, but why wouldn't you share the things that matter to you? The right person will want to know what lights you up, whether that's your grandbaby's first steps or your daughter's new job. And who knows? Maybe they've got a few proud grandparent stories of their own to share. Here's the bottom line. Dating after 60 isn't about following someone else's rules. It's about figuring out what works for you. Maybe that means joining a book club to meet new people. Maybe it means finally saying yes to that coffee date your friend's been trying to set up. Maybe it means swiping right on a dating app just to see what happens. Whatever it looks like for you, the most important thing is that you're doing it on your terms. Because here's the secret no one tells you. The best part of dating at this age isn't about finding someone who checks all the boxes. It's about finding someone who makes you feel alive, appreciated, and excited for whatever comes next. And if that sounds worth exploring, then stay tuned, because we're just getting started. You know what I love most about this stage of life? The freedom. Freedom from pretending, from people-pleasing, from squeezing yourself into someone else's idea of who you should be. And yet, when it comes to dating, so many of us still feel like we have to follow some invisible script, like there's a right way to do this. Well, I'm here to tell you something you might not have heard in a long time. You get to call the shots now. Let's start by smashing one last ridiculous rule. You shouldn't care about physical attraction at your age. Oh, please. Since when does wanting to feel a spark have an expiration date? Yes, personality and connection matter deeply. But let's not pretend we suddenly stop appreciating a nice smile, a warm laugh, or the way someone's eyes light up when they talk about their passions. The difference now. You're not chasing some airbrushed fantasy. You know real attraction, the kind that comes from chemistry, from energy, from the way someone makes you feel seen. So if anyone tells you you're too old to care about attraction, smile and walk away. Life's too short to dim your desires. Now, here's something else we need to talk about: rejection. Because no matter how young or old you are, it stings. Maybe you've put yourself out there and it didn't work out. Maybe someone ghosted you after what you thought was a great conversation. Maybe you're just tired of starting over. Here's the truth. Rejection isn't a reflection of your worth. It's just part of the process. And at this age, you've got the wisdom to handle it with grace. Instead of thinking, "What's wrong with me?" try thinking, "That just wasn't my person." Every no gets you closer to a hell yes. And while we're on the subject of courage, let's talk about the biggest, most liberating rule to break. You shouldn't make the first move. Who made that rule? Someone who'd never experienced the thrill of going after what they wanted. That's who. If you meet someone interesting, why wait for them to come to you? Send the message, suggest the coffee date, lean in and say, "I've really enjoyed talking to you." The worst that can happen, they're not interested, but the best, you might just open a door you'd have otherwise walked right past. At this stage of life, time is precious. Why waste it waiting for permission? So let's wrap this up with what really matters: your happiness, not society's expectations, not your well-meaning sister's opinions, not some outdated rulebook gathering dust. Maybe love at this age looks like slow dances in the kitchen. Maybe it's traveling with a partner who makes you laugh. Maybe it's enjoying the quiet comfort of someone who truly gets you. Or maybe it's simply knowing you had the courage to try. However this unfolds for you, remember, you're not too old, you're not too much, you're not too anything except exactly who you're meant to be. And that's more than enough. So here's to rewriting the rules, to first kisses with silver-haired stubble, to holding hands with someone who understands the weight of all the hands they've held before, to love that isn't about ticking boxes, but about two people saying, "You? Me? Let's see where this goes." Now go out there and live your love story on your terms. And when you do, come back and tell us about it in the comments. We're all rooting for you. Don't forget to like this video if it resonated with you, and subscribe for more real talk about thriving after 60. Because life, it's not winding down, it's wide open. Do subscribe to keep the circle growing.